Boom. Back again. Welcome back.
Welcome back, everyone, for episode number 2 of Breakout season.
Here we are, Luke and Spiros, back at it again.
Yep.
And let's get it going.
Let's get it going. So what do you want to discuss?
Well, I mean, it has been a busy week of NBA basketball. If we want to start with the Lakers, they have continued their dominant play.
Let's start with the 3-game road trip.
Yeah.
I think that's a great place to start.
Absolutely.
I got to say, initial impressions from the road trip, I was blown. I was very pleased with how we performed to sweep Denver, Utah, and Portland on the road is a difficult task to do. I think all those arenas are very difficult places to play in and come out victorious.
Oh, yeah.
And we were able to win all 3 games, and 2 of them by blowouts, essentially.
Blowouts, yeah. Anthony Davis didn't play in the fourth quarter.
And I think the Denver game, we were in control for most of the game as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little more back and forth, but we were up by double digits in the fourth quarter a couple times.
Keep in mind, Denver's the second best team in the Western Conference by record to start the season.
And just to kind of put things in perspective here, LeBron had not won in Utah since 2010.
That's crazy to think of.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
And everybody knows the Lakers' struggles in Portland. You know, going back to the Kobe Shaq days, Kobe had a crazy, I don't remember the exact number, but it was a major losing record throughout his career in Portland.
Oh, there was a Portland curse for sure for years.
And to put things in perspective even more, the Lakers have now won their last 11 road games. And the first time since the 71-72 team that has won that many in a row. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm surprised the 2000-2001 Lakers didn't.
The 2000 Lakers got to 10 road wins in a row.
Is this strictly just regular season or is it including playoffs? Because I'm pretty sure the 2000-2001 team that swept their way to the NBA Finals must have won at least 10 games or 11 games consecutively on the road.
I think this is just regular season.
Right, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Well,
but still, I mean,
nonetheless,
incredibly impressive.
It resulted in a championship. Is that right? The last time we did it?
I believe so, yeah.
So hopefully that's a sign of things to come.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And I just love that this has, at least for the moment, silenced a lot of the critics who have pointed out the ease of the Lakers' schedule early in the season.
Right.
Oh, wait till we get to December. Things are going to turn around.
And we were cautiously optimistic as well. We realized that we had the easiest schedule in the NBA for the month of November.
Yeah.
So our record was really strong, obviously, by the opponents that we played against. So that's why I feel like these 3 big road wins were huge for us. And we've only lost 1 game on the road, which I believe was the Clippers.
The first game,
right,
which is barely even a road game. We're undefeated away from Staples Center, you can say. That's basically
And another thing, I really feel like the group has found their stride because when we were playing these lower level teams, they were kind of in the games for most of them, and then towards the fourth quarter, we kind of push away and really solidify our dominance.
And a lot of times we've actually had to come back from double-digit deficits.
Right, and
barely
that's
win.
why it's so encouraging that these last 3 games, and specifically the games in Utah and Portland, wire-to-wire wins, basically.
Yeah, very, very impressive, and something I'm hopeful that they can continue to build on as we go. They're coming home for one single home game against the Timberwolves tomorrow, and then they go back out on the road for another 5-game trip. So the difficulty of this month continues. But interestingly enough, once we get past this December schedule, apparently the schedule gets significantly easier to the tune of something like 7th easiest in the NBA for the rest of the year.
Wow, that's great news.
Yeah.
So you pointed this out already. In the month of December, we have the most difficult schedule in the NBA to kind of even out. You know, at the end of the day, all the Western Conference teams, for the most part,
everybody plays the same amount of games.
Plays the same amount. I think the Eastern Conference has an advantage because they don't have to play Western Conference teams 4 times.
So however, that is something. Maybe we can dive into this. I don't know if you've looked at the standings lately, but the 7th and 8th seed teams in the West currently are under 500. And that's something that I don't remember seeing ever.
Let's take a look. I'm going to pull that up right now.
Now, I expect that not to be the case at the end of the season.
You're right. Minnesota Timberwolves 7 and 8. Phoenix Suns, Minnesota Timberwolves 10 wins, 11 losses.
Kind of crazy, right? Do
Yeah.
you remember a time where Western Conference playoff teams were under 500 this far into a season?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I can't recall. I think this is like par for the course for the East.
Oh, this is standard.
At least.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I feel like
You might have home court in the advantage if you're nearly 500 in the East.
Yeah, that's just absolutely wild. But so it's interesting. There's the West this year has not been as much of a meat grinder as I expected, at least to this point. I think a lot of teams are underachieving more so than I thought, and really the only overachiever in the bunch is Dallas so far, I would say.
And I would say the Lakers.
Yeah, I think people expected them to be like a 50-plus win team.
Right, but we're
maybe
on
not this
pace
great.
to 60 plus. To your point, I think two teams in the Western Conference are clearly head and shoulders above the rest of the competition, the Lakers and the Clippers. I may throw Houston in that mix if James Harden's putting up 50 or 60 points a night or whatever. He's been on a tear lately. Then they're going to be tough to beat. If the thing is with Houston, they're a one-trick pony.
Yep.
If their threes don't fall, they're going to lose.
Right.
They have no backup plan. They have no plan B. So that's all they got. And granted, if they go in, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
So let's see how it shakes out. Historically, you need even the Golden State Warriors were really three dependent. They had other elements to their offense. Motion offense were able to a lot of players moving without the basketball, a lot of ball movement, less ISO ball. They were more committed on the defensive end, I believe, during their championship years. So let's see if Houston can really make a push here.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think they're formidable. I think ultimately their lack of size when compared to the Lakers is something that's going to be a difference maker down the stretch if they do end up playing each other. So I'm definitely more still, as we talked about last time, I'm definitely more worried about the Clippers in the Western Conference as opposed to the Rockets. Having said that, the Clippers got blown out last night. Down by 40 points at one point.
I couldn't believe it.
To the Milwaukee Bucks, where Giannis was celebrating his 25th birthday, I believe. So it was their extra hype. But still, I know last time we talked about how we don't really consider anybody in the East a true championship contender. Did last night's victory by the Bucks change that perspective at all for you?
I didn't watch the game, to be perfectly honest, but they've won, I believe, now 14 in a row. Giannis made several three-pointers in that game, if I'm not mistaken. That was my one criticism of him last year during the playoffs. I thought he was a little bit too one-dimensional on offense. Obviously, he's a freak of nature athletically. He can impose his will offensively because of his athleticism. He's a force defensively because of his athleticism and his length. But, they beat the Clippers by 40, and they're on a 14-game winning streak. So you gotta give them some respect.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think they are removing themselves from the rest of the pack in the Eastern Conference pretty effectively at this point. I think they are now head and shoulders at this juncture above Philadelphia, the Celtics.
But I think Philadelphia is more built for the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, I would still give the advantage to the Bucks in a 7-game series against those two. I think they're clear-cut favorites to come out of the East at this point.
I just don't think they have enough talent. Can Giannis pull a LeBron James in circa 2007, put everybody on his back, and make a finals run? Perhaps.
Yeah, I think he can.
And I think he can, yeah, no doubt. But he doesn't have a legitimate backup star. They have solid role players, and is that enough?
Yeah, I think in the Eastern Conference it's enough. I think to win a championship, maybe not. They might be one piece away. So I would still favor, even after last night's game, I would still favor either the Lakers or the Clippers in a 7-game series. I think we can't read too much into just a single game. I think the Clippers just had an off night, and the Bucks were extra fired up for a number of reasons.
There's something to be said about competing every night. It looks like the Lakers are improving as the season goes on. If the Clippers are treating the regular season as it being relatively unimportant, they might shoot themselves in the foot, so to speak. Like, they might go into the playoffs not at their stride, and they might have to gel during the playoff run, which is exponentially more difficult to do.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's the risk you run when you load manage to this extent and you're constantly having to shuffle the rotation. How can you gel? How can people know their roles when at any given night you don't know if Kawhi's going to play or not? You don't know, the backups of Kawhi don't know if they're going to play 15 minutes that game or 35 minutes. I think that was one of our criticisms of Luke Walton when he was the coach of the Lakers. It seemed like on any given night, a player didn't know what his role was going to be. And I think that might be something that really ultimately separates the Lakers from everybody else is everyone not only knows their roles, not only are they clearly defined roles, but everybody's embracing their roles perfectly. And
you think Kuzma is?
So I had a funny conversation with a friend last night, and it's kind of outrageous to even mention the word disappointment when talking about this Lakers start. But I did say that Kuzma so far has been the biggest disappointment of the year for the Lakers. Now, obviously, how disappointing can anything possibly be with the record that they have? But if you want to nitpick, you can definitely look to Kuzma's sporadic play and inconsistent play as something that there definitely is room for improvement in. I don't think it's a problem yet. I don't think he is disgruntled in any way. I think he's definitely still searching for that role, and I think that role is open for him. We envision him as the third star, right? That third wheel, so to speak, in like a big three type thing. We were hoping he would step up into that role, and I think that the door is wide open for him to do that. He just needs to play better defense on a consistent basis and hit his shot at a more consistent clip as well.
Yeah, so in the beginning of the year, we obviously knew what we were going to get from AD. We knew what we were going to get from LeBron. And the question mark was, who's going to be that third scoring option? And we envisioned that, to what you just touched on, that being Kuzma. I think Kuzma has shown flashes of that, being able to score 20-plus points in multiple games so far in the season. But what I've seen from him, and obviously there's an adjustment that needs to take place with him. You brought up a good point with Ingram getting all the opportunities in the world, and he's getting the ultimate green light, and he has to be the leader of that team, especially with Zion down with the injury to start the season. So, but it seems like Kuzma has a personal agenda. He's a young player. He's still battling between him trying to get his versus what's best for the team. And what's best for the team right now is they built this identity of playing tough defense, defending the rim very well, playing through their stars very well, and then kicking it out to outside shooters. And if he's not willing to embrace the defensive part of that, he's going to struggle finding a spot on the team.
Right. Yeah, a long term. I agree with that. I still have all the faith in the world in him. I think he's a smart kid. I think he works extremely hard. I think he worked with Kobe in the offseason several times. I think that says a lot about a player. And if that's the person that you're trying to emulate as far as work ethic is concerned, I think he definitely has the potential to completely figure himself out.
Oh, no doubt. I'm not giving up on him by any stretch.
Yeah.
Look, we're 20-3.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he finds a way. Even last night, I feel like in the game against Portland.
Oh, he came up big.
He ended up coming up big after kind of a rough beginning.
Yeah.
And, we have to also take into account the multitude of injuries that he's been faced with this season so far. He missed the first several games. He got poked in the eye. That kind of threw him off. His minutes have been kind of up and down depending on the situation. So, I think it's too early it's way too early to write him off, but I think he will figure things out and become that third piece that we're looking for.
I think ultimately. He will. It's just so it's crazy to think about. Despite us being 20-3, we still see areas for improvement, which I think should be very encouraging to all Laker fans out there. And
this is not like a completed puzzle by any stretch.
Yes, and we lost 3 games, but we've been in all 3 games, I believe,
except the Dallas one.
Yeah, that's true.
Dallas one was pretty awful.
That was like a 1 p.m. start time. I think the boys may have been at 1 Oak the night before.
Who knows? Could be.
Yeah, I don't know.
Braun had too many tacos
on Sunday.
Yeah, who knows? But that's all right. I mean, that's going to happen. Look, even the 73-9 Warriors lost the 9 games and then ultimately the championship.
To
but
LeBron James.
Yeah, exactly. Teams lose. It's going to happen. They're going to have off nights. Other teams are. I mean, they're NBA players. That's why you play all 82 games.
Right.
So it is what it is.
So speaking of last night's game, we got to see Carmelo Anthony for the first time. What were your impressions? I gotta say, I've been on the Carmelo hate train for years now. I called him not being an NBA player when he went to the Thunder or Houston or something along those lines. I just thought his game was so old school, stopped the ball, didn't shoot a really high up percentage, took contested fadeaway twos.
Long twos,
no defense. But, his moves are still so crisp. I was impressed. Now, can he hit it at a high enough clip to be an effective player and prove that, there's still an art to the pump fake mid-range game? Let's see.
Well, I mean, he's averaging 15 or 16 points for Portland so far. He's definitely still an NBA caliber player, and kudos to him for staying in such good shape during this long offseason that he had.
He was about to retire.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean...
But he was staying in shape with the
just in
hopes
case.
of finding a team to
So I'm
with.
super happy for him. I've never been quite as staunch a critic of Carmelo as you have. And... I'm happy for him. I want to see him succeed. I'm glad he's found a home.
Honestly, me too.
He seems like a good guy.
Yeah.
LeBron loves him. They have a very close relationship. So, and I think Portland is the perfect. It was just the perfect storm of scenarios for that to happen. They are underachieving. They need to switch something up. They're certainly a piece short. Why not roll the dice on a lock as a Hall of Famer going forward?
I wouldn't give up on the Blazers just yet. I mean, realistically, they're not going to win the championship, but I still think they're going to make the playoffs despite their slow start.
Definitely, yeah. I think so too. I think they're one of the teams that have a good chance of kind of turning it around and maybe stealing a spot from Phoenix, let's say, who they've really slowed down after a hot start.
I don't think Phoenix is real. Not yet. They have shown some good promise with their young players, but I just don't think they're ready to make a playoff push just yet. But so still on the topic of Carmelo, his contract is now fully guaranteed for the year.
I did see that, yeah.
So when is Dwight going to get his contract guaranteed?
Yeah,
Do you think it's a good idea at this point? He's definitely proved himself worthy.
Yeah.
Do you think he'll lose focus?
No, I just don't know if there's maybe some type of salary cap implication at play here with still a potential buyout for Andre Iguodala looming. Not to say that we would cut Dwight, because I don't think we would ever do that even to get Andre Iguodala.
I think we would. We would have to, because we don't have. Well, we could cut someone else.
Yeah, I don't know what the implications are there. I think maybe that might have something to do with it.
Yeah.
Or we might see that happen imminently anyway. But at this point, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If we had to cut Dwight to get Andre Iguodala, at this point, I don't think I would do it. I'm cool with our roster, right? As is.
Yeah, I would agree. My concern is if we gave him a guaranteed contract for the rest of the year, would he lose focus? He's incentivized to go out there and perform every day because he knows the money won't come in otherwise.
But the thing is, I don't think this year is about money at all. Even if they guarantee his contract, what is that contract? Is it a veteran's minimum contract?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so what is that, $1 million or thereabouts, right?
Yep.
1 point something? Mm-hmm. He's used to making 20 plus a year.
Yeah, but Luke, $1 million is not negligible, and
certainly not. But he's not.
How many stories have been of NBA players going broke?
Certainly not. But I don't think going from unguaranteed money to a $1.5 million year is enough to make Dwight suddenly lose focus or stop trying.
What about the respect thing? What if he feels like, hey, Carmelo, who's been this NBA vigilante, it's like he had HIV or something. Everyone was staying away from him. And then now he had a couple games. He performed well for a couple games. All of a sudden he got a guaranteed contract. Dwight's like, I've been killing it this year. Isn't it kind of disrespectful that he's not getting one?
Well, maybe he will. Maybe it's in the works. I don't know. I certainly hope that that's not the monkey wrench that derails this beautiful redemption story for Dwight Howard. It remains to be seen. But I am cautiously optimistic based on everything I've seen from him so far that money is probably the last thing on his mind this year, just because of the media perception, the backlash from fans that he's had to deal with in recent years. I think turning that stuff around is what he's focused on. And so I think regardless of what happens with his contract, I don't think he's going anywhere. First of all, I don't think he's getting cut or anything like that. So even if it's still not guaranteed, I see him, especially surrounded by LeBron and AD, who are so dialed. I think he's going to stay on the straight and narrow and continue to embrace this role and help us win a championship this year.
Yeah, I would agree. For me, I think the initial turning point, personally, from my perspective towards Dwight, was when there was a Kobe-Shaq kind of Twitter beef going back and forth, when Kobe called out Shaq for being out of shape and said we would have had like 12 rings. And then, Shaq went back at Kobe. I don't have to rehash the whole story, essentially. But then, Shaq squashed beef, Kobe and Shaq squashed beef. And then he just took a shot at Dwight just for no reason. He's like, oh, my bad. I thought you were Dwight. Is that how you spell his name? And he purposefully spelled it incorrectly.
Yeah.
And then Dwight responded to that. He took the high ground. He's like, hey, man, Shaq's a great player, something along those lines. I'm just here to do my job. And I was like, all right, well, maybe Dwight is focused this season. So
he's had a spiritual awakening, my dog. He's like, he's found the Zen somehow. I don't know what it is, but it's awesome to see. I'm super happy for him. He was always, a fun guy. Like, I really liked him at first when he came to the Lakers. I was super excited when we got him initially.
Of course, yeah, because he was considered a top 5 player in the league when he was with Orlando. He beat LeBron James in a playoff matchup, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
So
as the focal point, he was the best player on that team. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think the second best player was like Rashard Lewis or Hito Turkoglu
or Jameer Nelson.
Or whatever. Yeah. But none to
injured that year.
No one was a perennial all-star.
Right.
Backing up Dwight.
Right, exactly. So that it was just literally him and just surrounded by shooters.
Dwight in his prime is the only player to win 3 consecutive Defensive Player of the Year awards. He's a Hall of Famer based on his first 8 years in the NBA, which is crazy.
Yeah, definitely. No question about it. So I think it just took him a while to come to terms with not being the focal point.
You know who else is killing it this year?
Who?
Rondo all of a sudden has turned into Steph Curry.
Yeah, just like Jason Kidd.
They're going under screens, and he's burning them.
50% from 3 for the year.
Unreal.
Unbelievable.
I can't believe it. I used to cringe every time Rondo took a 3.
Yeah.
He's been taking more over the last couple seasons, right?
Yeah.
They've been encouraging him. They're like, defenders are going under screens. Why don't you just rise up and shoot that shot? You have it every time. And every time he shot it, I was like, oh, God, here we go.
Yeah.
But now, when players go under the screens, I'm like, all right, Rondo, take that shot. Yeah. I can't believe I'm saying that.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And it just goes to show that, it's never too late to add something to your game. And we saw this with Jason Kidd. He became a big-time three-point shooter later on in his career, and especially for the championship season in 2011 with Dallas.
Yeah.
And we're seeing something similar with Rondo. It's definitely possible, and I think it's sustainable.
Why did it take this long? Because
I have no idea.
Rondo is a 4-time All-Star, and then there was a lull. And he had a couple good moments with the Pelicans. There was that playoff Rondo moment where they swept the Blazers in the first round, and they were the underdogs in that series. His game has not adapted to the modern NBA until now, it appears.
Yeah.
Why is it taking such a long time?
I mean, I think there's a lot of factors potentially at play. I don't think there's a way for us to know for sure. I know he has dealt with a lot of injuries throughout his career. That may have played a role. And I don't know, players just develop. Players change. Maybe he just didn't focus on that element of his game until recently. I mean, look at LeBron. LeBron has become a crazy outside shooter in the later stages of his career.
Yeah, of course. But the moment they went under screens in 2007, when the Spurs when the Cavs matched up against the Spurs in the finals and they went under every single screen, LeBron James has been working on his shot and he's gotten better. He actually shot 40% from 3, which is the benchmark of a sharpshooter.
Right.
When he was with the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
So he's proven he can shoot the long ball, and I think on the Lakers I think he's one of the best 3-point shooters, especially deep 3-point shooters.
Yeah, incredible. So I don't know. I give him credit. Whatever the reason is for this pretty sudden uptick in 3-point efficiency, I'm all about
Look
it.
at this Lakers love fest. We're showing love for everybody.
It's crazy. Yeah. I mean,
they deserve it, man.
They do. I'm on cloud 9 so far. It's like
it's been so long.
It's been so long. It's been such a tough road.
You were right though. You called this out when the first time Anthony Davis played it. I know it was a preseason game against the Golden State Warriors. You called it out. You said this feels like when Kobe got Gasol. It immediately clicked. It immediately transformed the team to what it appeared initially as a championship contender. They ended up winning several championships, so they were. And I'm just I'm hopeful AD and LeBron can do the same. Man.
Yeah,
I think
they fit like a glove together. It really is like the best fitting duo that we have had since Kobe and Pau, for sure.
I think it's the best duo since Kobe and Shaq.
Yeah.
Who's been better?
Yeah.
Has anyone been better? Is LeBron and Wade been better?
LeBron and Wade?
Who's been a better duo
in the league?
Steph and Durant. Would you compare them to LeBron and AD? I think LeBron and AD are still better.
As far as duos are concerned, yeah, because we went through this the super team era where there were at least 3 stars on the championship teams. I mean, even the Cleveland team, you could say, had a super team, had a big 3 with
when
Love and Kyrie.
Before Love got traded to the Cavs, he was putting up monster numbers.
He was the best power forward in the league for several years, as far as I'm concerned.
He was putting up like 25 and 15.
Yeah,
Unreal.
he had multiple 20-20 games.
Yep.
He was a monster on that Minnesota team, no doubt about it. Mm-hmm. So as far as duos are concerned, now that we've, at least for the moment, moved past this super team era, yeah, I mean, this probably is the best duo since Kobe and Shaq, which is so awesome.
Yes. And
I'm so happy, dog.
And I think that means trouble for the rest of the NBA.
Yeah.
Because as great of a team, more complete team, and I think we both agree on this, despite, the great start from Rondo, Dwight, even Caruso's had his moments to start the year.
The stats show he's an elite defender, by the the way.
Yeah, no, he's
elite defender.
I was impressed with his D versus Damian Lillard. Pause. And so, I think we would both agree that the Clippers are more a complete team. But in the past, that duo, whoever has the best player usually wins at the end of the day, unless the other team is so stacked beyond belief, a la Golden State several years ago.
Right.
And make no mistake about it, that's the reason why the Warriors were able to beat LeBron for 3 straight years in the finals.
Right.
Or is it two straight years in the finals?
Yeah. Right.
Right? So, because who they match up in the first year? Oh, yeah, they did match up in the first year. Wait. So 2015, it was Warriors versus Cavs. Mm-hmm. Warriors won that one, but it was because they had a lot of injuries, right? Both Kyrie and Kevin Love were out.
Yeah. They played them every time except Toronto, right?
So 4 straight years, was it?
Yeah.
All right.
Because LeBron went to 8 straight finals.
Right.
It had to be them every time.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So what I'm trying to say is that bodes well for us.
Yeah.
Having the best duo in the league, bring it. That's why I respect the Clippers as an opponent. I think they're formidable. I think they're going to be tough. I think it's going to create an exciting playoff matchup, but I ain't scared.
I love it. I wish I could adopt your mentality. And as the days go on, I'm getting more and more confident in our chances. But, I don't know. I still have that tiny little bit of doubt just because I've seen what Kawhi can do in the playoffs, and it's a little scary.
Kawhi is the king, but people thought Kawhi took the torch from LeBron James, and he didn't take it from him. LeBron temporarily laid the torch down.
Right. He had to go rest for a little bit.
Yeah. If LeBron is playing at his elite level, there is no comparison. I'm sorry.
Right.
Kawhi Leonard has not had a triple-double in his career so far. Yes, he's a great defender. Yes, he's developed his offensive game, no doubt about it. And yes, he's been very clutch in the playoffs. I am not disputing any of that. But let's not get it confused. Kawhi's peak that he's ever played at is nowhere near LeBron's peak that he's ever played at.
Agreed.
And if LeBron can get back to that form, guess what? It's not the real king.
Right.
LeBron is the king.
And here's the thing, like, yeah, they beat the Lakers in the first game of the season, but playoff LeBron is a thing also.
Well, I think as the season has gone on, LeBron has gotten better. He's shaken maybe some of that initial rust off.
Definitely.
And I think Anthony Davis has found himself more offensively. Last week, I graded him as a B+ overall, just because I set the bar so high from him. I'm not trying to disrespect him. I think he's been phenomenal for us to start the year. I'm not throwing any shade. I just think he's just that type of player. I think he's on the level of Giannis. I think he's better than Giannis. He's more complete offensively. Can score from any part of the court.
Yeah.
And he's been the best defensive player I've witnessed from a day in and day out perspective ever.
Yeah, same, I would say. I mean, since Shaq, at least for the Lakers.
But no, I think he's better than Shaq, because there was a time yesterday where he got switched off onto CJ, and CJ has crazy good handles, and he has a good jump shot, and he has pretty good quickness. He's a guard, right?
Yeah.
And Anthony Davis was staying in front of him step for step, and he couldn't get around him, and he couldn't blow past him. And I'm like, Anthony Davis can guard big man and guard, switch the pick and roll, defend at the rim, contest perimeter shots from guards. He can do it all and then get the rebound afterwards and then push it on the break.
It's fantastic.
It's unreal.
Yeah, I love it. As long as they can be, thank you. As long as they can be fresh for the playoffs, and I think we'll be in good shape. And what I love about this team is we are doing minor load management, but we're doing it the most gangster way possible. We're blowing teams out to the point where LeBron and AD are resting entire fourth quarters, where they're only playing 30 minutes of the game. That's beautiful. That is what I want to see as often as possible. And if we're able to do that and take care of business against the lesser teams in the league, as we've been able to do so far, if we're able to sustain that until the playoffs, I love our chances. I want to see more of LeBron running on the sideline in his socks, cheering on the bench players.
Me too. That's such bullshit that he got.
Can we talk about that for a little bit?
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, so for those that may have missed this, the Lakers were blowing out the Jazz by about 20 points. LeBron...
I think we brought it up like 8 times so far, but it's all good.
Yeah, they blew out the Jazz by 20 points?
Yeah.
Right, but in terms of this little sequence that happened, LeBron is on the bench. The game is over. He's not coming back in the game. He takes his shoes off, signs them, and gives them to a little boy and girl, fans of his in the stands. They run off super excited. And LeBron is cheering on the sideline as Kyle Kuzma gets back-to-back blocks on the same possession.
Kyle Kuzma, that was not...
I think that's why he was so excited, because it was Kuzma.
He didn't misspeak right there. It was Kyle Kuzma who made those blocks. Not Dwight, not AD, not JaVale. Kyle Kuzma. Continue.
Yeah, so I think that's a main reason why he was so excited about it, to see Kuzma kind of step up into that role. But in any case, he took a few steps onto the court. He was jumping up and down. He was bigging up his teammate as the leader of the team should,
right,
in a 20-point blowout where he earned the right to be running around in his socks. And the Jazz announcers saw that and called it an act of disrespect.
I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I think they were just sensitive to the fact that the Jazz have been off to a slow start of the year. They're getting blown out at home to the extent where LeBron doesn't even have to have his shoes. There's not even like a chance that he'll play.
His shoes are up in the 20th row, dog.
And that's the reason that they're so sensitive about it, is because
they're butthurt.
They're just concerned with the slow start with the Jazz, to the point where it's like not even required the possibility of LeBron re-entering the game in the fourth quarter due to the Jazz's lack of competitive spirit, whatever it is for them to start the season.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't get blown out by 20 points
exactly.
at home.
All right.
Like, how about that? That's disrespectful to the fans that paid money to come see you guys.
Good point.
Like, talk to your own players, dog. Like, what do you mean?
If we were down by 4, you think LeBron would have had his shoes off?
Yeah, exactly. So come on, like that was just, it was just foul to me. Like, I'm just...
LeBron is the... And look, LeBron is the most criticized athlete ever. Because, you know, Jordan didn't grow up in the social media era. Even Kobe, I mean... When he first started off in '96, there's no Twitter, right? Shaq, same thing. He's the first star that has had the spotlight on him since basically high school.
Yep.
And during the social media era, and has not messed up once.
Not once.
Except for the decision, which is the only thing LeBron is guilty of is being a slight diva. But
At
that's
times, yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's it. The man is one of the greatest basketball players ever. He's a good dad from all accounts.
He's a great role model for young kids in the inner city.
He's been with his high school sweetheart
his whole life.
His whole life. It's crazy.
Has he ever gotten a parking ticket?
I don't know, but he's never had any kind of criminal allegations thrown his way. Nothing. So
nothing.
You know,
he is a great role model for the children, man.
If you want to criticize LeBron for jumping up and down and celebrating his teammates' block and success,
that says more about you than it does about him.
Exactly. That means, yeah, exactly. Totally. I agree 100%.
Yeah. So it's at this point, it's as a reformed LeBron hater speaking here.
For those who don't know, Luke did not mess with LeBron when he was taking shine away from Kobe early on.
Yeah, and that's what it boiled down to. Like, oh God, it's tough to admit this, but
let's get into it.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to get into it, look, I think.
Look, to your point, you've always been a Laker apologist.
Of course.
You supporting the team no matter what.
Yes.
Every player on the Lakers is your favorite player in the NBA.
Yes.
So I give you credit for that. But our hate towards LeBron, and I think towards the end, for me personally, I respected his game. I thought he was good. There's nothing that, outside of him being great, that made me want to hate on him.
Right. No, agreed. And the vast majority of my ill will towards LeBron, deep down, if I'm being super honest, which I'm all about being on breakout season here, his only crime was being better than Kobe.
Boom.
That's what it was, and I just didn't want to admit it for years. For years, I wanted Kobe to be better. I wanted Kobe to be better than MJ, better than LeBron. I wanted Kobe to be the greatest ever.
You know what's interesting? Because a lot of Kobe fans, for the most part, won't admit LeBron is better than Kobe.
They haven't had the spiritual awakening that I've had.
But they feel like it's okay to admit that Jordan's better. Have you noticed that? Why is it okay to admit one player is better than Kobe, but not another player? I mean, it's not to throw. Kobe is my favorite player of all time, arguably, definitely, in my opinion, top 10 player ever.
Yeah.
So it's not. We're not saying he's a bad player.
I think it's extra perplexing when you factor in the fact that they never met in the playoffs. LeBron never beat Kobe in any meaningful game other than, like a Christmas Day regular season matchup, which is ultimately kind of meaningless.
They robbed us. And what was that one year the Cavs had a crazy good work? I think in 2009 when the Magic made it. Yes. The Cavs should have made it. We would have had a Kobe versus LeBron NBA Finals.
Right. That was the year Dwight beat him.
Right.
Yeah. So, they never went head-to-head in any meaningful basketball. There's no reason to have that kind of malice towards this guy.
Well, the reason, it's because he's better.
Right. And Kobe fans, to this day, there's a ton of Kobe fans out there that will just not admit it. And I think it's important that you as a person are able to evolve, change your mind as more information comes to you, as you grow in life. You want to be somewhat malleable. You don't want to be stuck in your ways. You're not going to improve as a person. You know what I'm saying?
Let's be real. Ignore facts.
Right. And that.
Like statistically,
just be
he's
stubborn
better
for no reason. Yeah.
And, I'm sure there's going to be people out there that are going to say, has LeBron ever averaged 35 points per game in a season? Whatever. Like I said, my goal here is not to throw Kobe under the bus. It's just for us to appreciate LeBron's greatness and to embrace him in the Laker community.
Yeah, the thing is, whatever LeBron does doesn't take away anything that Kobe did for the Lakers.
Absolutely not.
And I think whatever happens in these next 3 years that LeBron has signed with the Lakers, there's nothing that he can do that will supersede Kobe as arguably the greatest Laker of all time. I think that is solidified in stone. He won 5 championships with us. He was here for 20 years. He never left. That LeBron can never match that. So why not just embrace this guy who decided to come here, try to get the Lakers more championships?
He's our savior.
We were sure he is.
We struck out in free agency for several consecutive years. We were desperate. We went after We tried to. We signed Dwight.
LaMarcus Aldridge 2 meetings, dog.
Yeah, we tried to sign Dwight. He rejected when Dwight was at the peak of his superstardom. He elected to sign with Houston. Then the next year we had an opportunity at Carmelo Anthony,
who didn't even give us a meeting. I don't think.
No, I think we were in contention to sign him, but ultimately decided to re-sign with the Knicks, right? And then we went after LaMarcus Aldridge, who, he's had his moments. He's been an all-star.
He's an elite big man.
Well, I wouldn't even say that. I wouldn't. He wasn't like a perennial all-star. He had all-star years. He was a great play. He was a good player for great player for several seasons. Overall, I don't think he was ever considered a top 5 NBA player. I don't think he's a franchise player. Right, exactly. Is he the best player on a championship team? Absolutely not.
Right.
We were
our first meeting with him was so terrible by all accounts that they went back and begged for a second meeting to try to convince him to come, and it didn't even work.
Right. So LeBron here, I think a lot of other free agents already decided to sign when LeBron decided to come with the Lakers, right?
I don't remember.
I don't remember exactly, but that's what I believe. Don't quote me on that. But nonetheless, the point I'm trying to say is LeBron took a chance. He saw these young group of guys, and he's like, all right, I like Lonzo. I like Ingram. I like Kuzma. I like what they got going on here. I think I come here, I can make something happen. Now, if there's other motives like him trying to get more into Hollywood or promote his brand or do any of that, sure, I'm not saying that wasn't at play as well.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we signed at the end of that season undisputably the best player. Everyone came out of that final saying the Warriors were the best team, but LeBron was the best player.
Right. Yeah, 100%. And the thing is, yeah, he is a bit of a diva. Yes, I have been hypercritical of him because of, him being better than Kobe and me not wanting to admit it. But let me tell you something. The second that he put on that Laker uniform, that's family, bro.
That's real.
That's it. And I feel that way about everybody. I mean, I hated Rajon Rondo for years after our battles with him on the Celtics. It doesn't matter. I thought more of my friends were on the same page, but LeBron coming to the Lakers has really kind of illuminated for me the Laker fans, the Kobe fans, and the LeBron haters. Those are all separate things.
And the LeBron fans, which are now Laker fans suddenly.
Right. So there's a bunch of crazy stuff happening. For me, it's the Lakers have always been the priority. If in 2007 Kobe decided that he did want to be traded to Chicago and that did go down, I would wish him well. I would still enjoy watching him play, but I wasn't going anywhere, dog. I would be a Laker fan no matter what. And that's never going to change.
You would dislike him. You've barely come around to Shaq. You still kind of...
I'm still lukewarm on Shaq at best.
Why?
I just don't like how his career went after he left the Lakers.
Yeah,
but you can't criticize him without him having to immediately fire back. And to me, I think at that level, when you're that much of a mogul and that much of a success in your field and in multiple fields, he's a business mogul at this point. The fact that he still has to respond on Twitter to things, the fact that he's throwing random shots at Dwight.
How does that overshadow the fact that he spearheaded a three-peat?
It doesn't. I am not so why are you diminishing that.
Don't be lukewarm on him then.
I just don't like him that much as a person. I just think
no. See, this is where I disagree with you. Look, I get it. He's sensitive. I'm not disagreeing with that. There's no need for him to respond to everything.
You think Jay-Z is responding to people's tweets?
No, absolutely not. And I'm not.
He's bigger than that.
I understand what you're trying to say, but let's not just throw his entire personality under the bus because he's sensitive to responding to criticism.
It's not just that, dog.
So what else?
The lack of work ethic, man. He could be the greatest player in the history of the world if he had that Kobe Bryant work ethic.
Yeah, but nobody did, from all accounts.
Well, I mean, you can make the argument that Jordan was kind of on that level in terms of like insane competitiveness. But the thing is,
no. Those are two different things, though. Insane competitiveness and work ethic are two different things.
Well, I think they feed into each other.
Everybody, from all personal testimony from former NBA players, said Kobe was ridiculous. He was at the gym hours before even practice started, did practice, went home and nap, and came back for a third workout. He would be at the gym at 4 a.m. Who else does that? Right.
Okay, let's not, because Kobe is such an outlier, let's say, what if Shaq had 75% of Kobe's work ethic? 50% of Kobe's work ethic. I don't think you can even say that. And I think if he did have 50% or 75% of that crazy work ethic, we're looking at the greatest player that's ever lived.
Agreed.
And that is just, it's like, yeah, he did great. He won 4 championships. He's a perennial all-star, arguably the most dominant player to ever live, even as is. But it's just like, there could have been another echelon to his greatness that he didn't quite get to.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I think this comes down to your initial distaste for LeBron, when the reality is that Shaq is better than Kobe despite all those things you eloquently just said.
Better?
Shaq? I'm sorry, not LeBron. It's better than Kobe.
You're saying Shaq is better than Kobe?
Right, and I think that's why you partially don't like Shaq.
No, it's just hard for me to compare the two just because they played different positions, and Shaq was just such a freak physically. I don't like it. I don't know. It's hard for me to compare centers to guards.
LeBron is one of the most. You could argue LeBron is the biggest freak of nature that the NBA has ever seen.
Either him or Shaq.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So why are we not discrediting LeBron for his athleticism that Kobe didn't possess? Kobe, I mean,
they're a small forward and a guard and a shooting guard are way more similar than a shooting guard and a center. To me, their games are just so different. They're so different physically. It's hard to, like, Kobe's probably the best one-on-one player ever, you could argue, right? Like,
has he played Shaq one-on-one?
Well, so that's what I'm getting at. If he played Shaq, he would probably lose.
Of course.
Right. So I don't know. Like there's such a physical disparity that whatever Shaq does, and you could say that he's better. And like
you need to bury the hatchet with Shaq.
I don't know, but like
you got to embrace him.
If I'm starting a
he
franchise,
has a statue outside of Staples Center.
I would rather start a franchise with Shaq over Kobe any day of the week. I'm not arguing that. I think it's just easier to compare LeBron's game or Jordan's game to Kobe versus Shaq's game to any of those players. So I just kind of look at them in different categories. So no, I don't think Shaq being better or more valuable has anything to do with me being kind of lukewarm on him at this point.
So it's time to bury the hatchet. I understand he's sensitive, but the man has a statue outside of Staples Center.
And shout out to him. Like I love him for what he did.
We would be 3 championships less without Shaq. As great as Kobe was in those early years.
Can I bring something else up, though, that
sure.
really bothers me that I don't think people bring up as much? KD caught so much flack, right, for going to the best team ever assembled and trying to basically being like a ring chaser, right?
Yep.
Has there ever been a more egregious ring chaser in NBA history than Shaquille O'Neal? He was the hype beast of NBA contenders. He went around to literally every single contender trying to get that 5th championship.
Yeah, I get it. And look,
he was a Celtic at the end of his career, bro.
The difference is, and that's something I want to get into afterwards. The difference is that Shaq at that point wasn't a top player. He wasn't an elite player anymore. Let's call a spade a spade. He was not. So KD deciding to join the Warriors, not just any Warriors team, not just any elite team, the 73-9 Warriors who lost to LeBron just because LeBron is that echelon of a player is different than Shaq at year 18 or 17 who's going to have a marginal impact at best, deciding to join a championship team. I get that but like, even if he won the 5th ring, okay, is that 5th ring gonna be? Are we gonna have?
I promise you, he would talk about it. I promise you, he would talk about it.
We wouldn't be able to say. We wouldn't be able to say.
5-time champion.
We wouldn't be able to compare that to Kobe's 5 rings. Was Kobe's clearly instrumental?
But I promise you, he wouldn't put an asterisk.
But the NBA community wouldn't. They wouldn't say, "Oh, you were the championship driving force to 5 rings."
Maybe not. But the fact that he chased it so hard is a bad look.
Yes,
and I don't like it.
Okay,
that's what it is.
I understand that, but ultimately, he's sensitive. He left the Lakers.
Ring chaser, hypebeast.
Yes, but let's not absolve Kobe from the rift between Shaq and Kobe. I understand Kobe had an issue with Shaq's work ethic, and he wanted to prove himself as the alpha on a championship level team, and I get all of that. But if he was a little bit more willing to meet Shaq halfway, so to speak, I'm sure Shaq, like he did with Dwayne Wade, would have said, "Hey, no, this is your time, young fella." There's been multiple times during, I think, the 2001 playoffs, when this was way early on in Kobe's rise to superstardom.
Kobe was like 22.
22, maybe even younger than that, honestly, at that point. And Shaq, after the game, says Kobe's the best player in the league. In 2001, they could have worked it out. And let's not absolve Kobe from all guilt.
Certainly not. I'm not even doing that. I'm not blaming Shaq solely for that.
Let me finish one of my thought here. So the point being is that we drove Shaq out of town, which ultimately wanted Shaq to match Kobe in championships. It is what it is. That's what was driving Shaq. He wanted to have at least as many championships as Kobe. Kobe, after he won his 5th, the first thing he said in the media was, "Now I got one more than Shaq." It was the realest Kobe media moment of all time.
100%.
Okay,
it was great.
If Kobe didn't drive Shaq out of town, Shaq wouldn't have had the less than Disney fantasy storybook ending that he had. He could have had the storybook ending, and Kobe contributed to not him having it.
I think there's two sides to that coin, man. I think they both needed to compromise a bit more than they did. I don't think it was solely Kobe's fault. I don't think it was solely Shaq's fault. But I think another factor at play is the fact that Shaq wanted this crazy extension, and Jerry Buss said, "Nah."
Let's be real.
That was part of it too.
Let's be real.
He didn't want to pay him, and Shaq has even said that.
All right.
Jerry Buss didn't want to pay me.
Look, as great as the 04 Pistons were, we lost that finals due to chemistry issues. If we won that finals, the checkbook opens, the bank opens, everything is on the table. If Kobe and Shaq had one championship run where they're like, "Screw it, we're going to put our differences aside." And that was in 2001 because Kobe was still on the rise and Shaq, and he wasn't ready to maybe be the sole superstar of a dynasty team at that moment. He proved to himself to be at the end of that championship run, no doubt. But that was the only time where Kobe and Shaq both were in complete tune with each other, and they really robbed themselves of championships.
Agreed. Yeah, no, agreed. I think they're both responsible to varying degrees, and we'll never know exactly the inner workings of that whole relationship, any more than they're willing to say in interviews and whatnot today. But I don't know. At the end of the day, like
Shaq's family, I'm not saying that Kobe, you should put him in the pedestal above Kobe. Of course not. Kobe committed 20 years to here. He contributed 5 championships.
Look, I didn't say I hate him. I just said I'm lukewarm on him, bro.
That's kind of
I don't hate him.
He has a statue outside.
Yeah, shout out to Shaq. Thank God that we had Shaq. He's amazing.
Are you lukewarm? Is like the feelings I have towards Trevor Ariza. Like, are you kidding me? That's how you describ
I feel
one of
way
the greatest.
better about Trevor Ariza than lukewarm. What are you talking about? He shot 50% from
there
3.
You go. You're proving my point.
You're
proving my point.
In 2009, the whole playoffs, he shot 50%.
So you're proving my point that you're not giving him enough love.
Yeah, that's real. I don't know. Yeah, no, I get it. Like, I understand his impact, and I'm extremely grateful for it. He's just not one of my favorite players. He's not one of my favorite 5 Lakers of all time. Honestly.
What?
Yeah, no, he's not.
Get out.
Yeah. He's not.
Listen, when in doubt, just talk about the Kobe and Shaq feud. You could have episodes on episodes of podcast feud.
Endless content just for Kobe and Shaq
Like
feud.
it's 20 years removed or 15 years removed from it.
And it's still one of the most compelling stories in sports history.
Oh my God.
They can make a movie about it.
Oh my God, they should.
They probably will.
That's actually a really good idea.
Yeah, they really should. But yeah, I mean.
So who are your top 5?
I don't know. I got to think about this, but Kobe number 1 for sure. Are we talking about, well, like, it's hard for me to put in, like, Magic or James Worthy or Kareem because that was before our time.
Oh, okay.
Obviously.
I'm glad you brought this up. So Luke goes around and puffs out his chest and he's like, oh, I hate the Celtics. I hate the Celtics. And I'm trying to tell him, like, dude, we weren't part of that rivalry. And I understand.
Bro, I still have nightmares from '08. What are you talking about?
All right. So I'm not saying I think of the Celtics as any other team. But I don't have them as my most disliked opponents.
Bro, you have to as a Lakers fan.
No. See, the thing
it's
is...
the Israelis and the Palestinians, dog.
No.
It happened 1,000 years ago, and they still...
Let's not...
You have to, bro.
I don't want to get into that. But what I'm trying to say is I think you want to be part of that rivalry to some degree because it was so intense and so lit at its height. And we just didn't have it. And I'm just telling you, like, man, you need to let that go. I understand we had a short-lived rivalry. I mean, we relatively did, but we have Rondo on the team now. Our rivals today are the Clippers, and that's a team who you should dislike the most, and the Rockets because they want a game overturned on one bad call.
Yeah, we got to talk about that, too.
Yes.
We definitely have to talk about that. I don't know. I just think like the arch rival, like the Joker is the arch rival of Batman. And Batman might, have to deal with the Penguin. He might have to deal with Bane. But at the end of the day, it's the Joker. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the top priority.
Wait. Listen.
That's what it is, bro. And the Celtics are the Lakers' arch rival. And as a Laker fan, you must hate the Celtics first and foremost. You just have to, whether you live through it or not.
Okay.
Our parents lived through it, bro.
Let me ask you some
questions. And we are
questions.
the next generation.
Let me ask you some questions, okay? What was the most intense rivalry the Lakers have had during your span of them?
I know where you're going with this, and you're going to say the Sacramento Kings.
Okay. Well, who's number 2?
But I could argue, I'm not arguing this, but you could argue that the Celtics rivalry from 2008 to 2010 was more intense because we actually lost to them. We never lost to the Kings. The Kings were never really... I mean, they were a very, very formidable team, arguably better than us in 2002 from top to bottom, but we obviously had the better, duo at the end of the day. But we always beat them. They never beat us in any meaningful basketball game.
Yeah, but
you know what I'm saying?
But as a team, the team of the 2002 Lakers disliked the Kings more than the team of the 2008 Lakers disliked the Celtics. There's Shaq has been on record calling the Sacramento Kings the Sacramento Queens.
That's so lit.
He had Brian Shaw or Samaki Walker on the bus after they beat him play some sort of tune on their Nokia cell phone, and Shaq's rapping.
The Cheers theme song. And
yes.
He freestyled
it.
So sick. That's my favorite Shaq moment, probably.
Vladdy, you need to go back to where they know your name.
Right.
So, I think the intensity of that rivalry outweighs whatever we had. Not to
that's what we
diminish.
lived through, right? Yeah. We don't know what it was like. We don't know what that atmosphere was really like back in the 80s, man. We don't know.
Exactly. That's my point. I'm not if someone grew up watching that rivalry, I'm not saying I totally understand. I totally understand. But we weren't part of that.
That's our heritage, bro.
We weren't part of the clothesline on Rambus. We weren't part of the multiple final series.
But we are part of it by default because we are Laker fans. That is our heritage. That is our legacy. And it should not be forgotten.
I think it should not be forgotten, but it's grasping on to something that we didn't live through, and it's not really current NBA. Are we really going to hate on Kemba and Brad Stevens and Tatum because of Mikhail clothesline Rambus for 25 years ago, 35 years ago, whatever it was?
I think definitely ultimately I always want the Celtics to fail. right?
I'm not saying that you should think of them the same way as the Bucks.
But I will say this. In this moment, I definitely have more malice towards the Clippers and the Rockets.
We good, then.
I definitely do in this moment.
And the Rockets, too? You put the Rockets ahead of them. Come on, dude. They wanted a game overturned because of one bad.
I think James Harden is the least likable NBA superstar that we have currently. And I think the number 2 least likable superstar is now his running mate in Russell Westbrook. They're on the same team.
Exactly.
And I think Mike D'Antoni is the least likable coach in the NBA. So, yeah, I'm definitely not a huge fan of what they have going on in Houston right now. It's difficult for me to still put them over the Celtics in terms of hate, just because, we haven't really had any meaningful exchanges with that team in our lifetime.
And Rondo's on our team now. Like, what has remained from that 2010 team? Garnett, Pierce. Like, I'm not saying I like Garnett or Pierce or Ray Allen or any of those cats, but at this point, it's water under the bridge. We've actually.
I wouldn't go that far.
Fine. But the point being is that it's not current. And the current team that we should focus our dislike towards are the Clippers and the Rockets, because they pose the biggest threat to us, and because the Rockets are little babies.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think, in the short term, most of my malice is channeled towards those two teams as of now. But that could change. Like, if we happen to meet the Celtics in the finals this year or next year or whatever, that could change.
Right.
But having said that, I definitely want to talk about that ridiculous... Okay, there's so much ridiculousness about this entire scenario. But the James Harden dunk that didn't count.
Oh, my God.
First of all, that is some terrible officiating. That's one of the worst calls I've ever seen in my entire life in any sport, let alone basketball.
Mm-hmm.
The shot went in. It clearly went in. And for whatever reason, they were unable to review it, or I don't know what happened.
Yep.
I'm at a loss. I don't know what's worse, that or the fact that it happened with 7 minutes left in the game with the Rockets up by 13 that ended up being a double overtime loss that they are now trying to overturn because of that one call.
They are the ultimate crybaby. The issue with the Rockets is that they are so hell-bent on their system being so much. They think they figured out basketball.
Daryl Morey thinks he's a genius.
He's crunched the numbers and he's like, nope, there's no way that playing this kind of style of basketball should result in a loss. And they're so convinced of that, they've put themselves, they're a one-trick pony. And this is going back to what I told them before. If plan A doesn't work, what do? They don't go to plan B, they cry.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they do.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so frustrating.
And to add insult into injury, James Harden gets
more calls than anyone.
Most preferential treatment from the referees out of any other player. LeBron James is going to the rim every single play, and he's not getting called for fouls. James Harden's going to the line 15 times a night.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was trying to pull up the stats here about how egregious his preferential treatment is, or his free throw shooting is versus other players, but I wasn't able to do so. But it's ridiculous.
At the end of the day, they should not be complaining about anything. They get the most preferential treatment out of any team, I would say. And just the fact that they think that one play that cost them 2 points when they were already up 13. How about not blowing a 13-point lead?
You know what the NBA should have did? They should have awarded them 2 points and then still give them the L.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, fine. Take the L. You want those points? We'll give you those points. Whatever.
Right.
Like, come on. And first of all, that's not how it works. Like, you don't know what happens after that. It could change the whole dynamic of the outcome.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Maybe they would have lost in no overtime if that had gone that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right,
you never know.
You can't say for certain that one play
cost them the game. Yeah.
Cost them the game. If it was the final play of the game, then perhaps they have an argument.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, this is a regular season game. right? This is not even a playoff game.
Yeah.
Why are you petitioning a formal complaint to the NBA for that? You know why? Because they're trying to hedge their bet. They're trying to bring awareness of like, hey, you know what? We're not getting the calls. Like NBA doesn't want us to succeed. Blah blah blah. And they want to.
So they have an excuse when they lose.
Exactly.
So whack.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of what they got going on at this point. The current Rockets regime with James Harden, but. You know, it is what it is. At the end of the day, I think no matter how great Harden is offensively, I think they lack the size to end up winning a championship.
The only thing is, if Harden can continue this tear up, which has never been done before since Wilt, right? Basically, if he can continue it up, maybe, you know, they have a puncher's chance. Like
they do, but I think they're definitely worse than last year, and I think they're definitely worse than the year before that, where they were up 3-2 on Golden State.
I don't know if they're worse than 2 years ago. I mean, last year. They're definitely worse than 2 years ago. But.
Yeah, I would say they are.
Well, we'll see.
I think Harden's been greater than ever, and I think that's why you maybe haven't noticed. They're relying more. I mean, Eric Gordon hasn't even been playing, right? They don't even have their full squad. The way that they are able to maintain this level of elite play is purely Harden. He is playing on an unprecedented level for him, and it's fun to watch in that way. Like, you got to give it to him. Like, he is an immensely talented scorer. We have a friend who believes that he is the greatest scorer in NBA history.
Right. What
do you think about that? You think that's a little premature?
Well, it's tough to. I mean, I think he's definitely in the conversation. There's no doubt about it, because he really is an offensive juggernaut. I'm not trying. Harden is crazy offensively. He can shoot from anywhere. He's kind of created this, and he's taken advantage of the no hand checking rules, where he can, you know, create space and attack the basket with little resistance from defenders. And he really initiates a lot of the contact, and he gets the benefit of the call a lot of the time, which is very frustrating, because it's as a defender, and, you know, based on my weekend YMCA experience, and I like to think of myself as a lockdown defender in the YMCA, but it's, if someone's driving at you, you should be able to
stand your ground.
Stand your ground. Like, contact doesn't mean it's a foul on you if he initiated or the opposing player initiated it.
Right.
So I think there's an argument to be made that he's definitely an elite player. Jordan hasn't even averaged 39 per game for an entire season. You know, so what do you think?
I think it's remarkable that he has found a way to essentially hack the officiating system. He has been able to draw fouls and just take advantage of the rules as they are currently laid out and as they are currently being enforced better than any player I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
So for that, he deserves credit. I believe the NBA should respond and adjust their interpretations of the rules based on James Harden, because I think he is exploiting the rules as they're currently being enforced.
Right.
So, yeah, he deserves credit for that. Yeah, he's scoring at an unbelievable clip at this point. Is it sustainable? That remains to be seen. I think it is vastly premature to label him the greatest scorer in NBA history.
He's in the conversation.
If he keeps this up, for sure he's in that conversation, and he might be the front runner.
I think our friend was saying that he's trending towards that trajectory. He's kind of going in that level.
No doubt. Credit to him. Like, it is what it is. I don't personally find his style of play appealing, but you can't take away from his greatness. Like, no doubt about it. Shout out to him for being great.
So with that being said, Breakout season episode number 2 comes to an end. Boom.
In the books.
More Kobe and Shaq coming your way.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that's going to be
our bread and butter.
Recurring theme here. All right, y'all.
Hell yeah. All right, we done.